lemonade and mango. It can be adult-friendly with alcohol-infused flavors. 2 area locations open until 8 p.m. every day. Follow Philly Freeze Me on social media at Philly Freeze Me or online at phillyfreezeme.com.
Immersive Disney animation is the groundbreaking experience of a lifetime, featuring the animated sights and sounds of Disney's most iconic films, from The Lion King to Frozen to Encanto and more. Step into the magic of Disney's greatest characters. Immersive Disney animation is now open at Lighthouse Art Space Las Vegas at the Shops at Crystals. Tickets at DisneyImmersive.com. Brought to you by the producers of Immersive Van Gogh.
World famous Randy's Donuts is now in Las Vegas. Look for the giant rooftop donut at Sahara and Rainbow and get ready for a taste sensation like no other. Since 1952, Randy's Donuts is consistently named one of the top donut shops in the country. And there's little wonder why. And oh my God, the variety. Glazed, raised, sprinkled, long johns, cinnamon rolls, crullers, fritters, bear claws. I'm getting hungry. Randy's Donuts, 2170 South Rainbow, at the northeast corner of Sahara and Rainbow. Randy's Donuts, always alive, but always worth the wait. Visit randysdonuts.com or just stop by at the northeast corner of Sahara and Rainbow. You've seen Randy's Donuts in the movies. Now taste them for real. One taste and you'll be back again and again. Randy's Donuts, 2170 South Rainbow, at the northeast corner of Sahara and Rainbow.
It's time for the most interactive radio program in Las Vegas today. It's time for Pushing the Limits with Brian Shapiro. Brian will talk sports, politics, entertainment, and anything that matters to you. Feel free to call Brian at 702-221-7283.
You want answers? I want the truth!
Now, Pushing the Limits, here's Brian Shapiro.
What's up, everybody? Happy Thursday. It is Pushing the Limits. So glad you could join us. Yes, a lot to get to today. Broadcasting everywhere, not just on the AM and FM dial, of course, on KSHP, but we're broadcasting live. YouTube, TikTok, Facebook. I know I'm missing a few social media platforms as well, but plenty.
Twitch.
Thank you, Twitch. Am I
Twitter,
missing anything else?
Twitter.
I did say Twitter.
Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, Facebook.
I'm old, so all these social media platforms, I'm still trying to get up to speed on all of them. Thank you, Numcheck. Anyway, a lot to get to today. We're going to have some fun. It didn't go very well for Ron Desantis last night. Yeah, his announcement did not go as well as expected. They're claiming, the glitches, and there were so many people on Twitter that, everything got all messed up, and that's why, because Ron Desantis is so popular. We'll get to that coming up here in a little bit at the bottom of the hour. Love having this guy on the show. Tremendous amount of respect for him from the Nevada Independent. Of course, I'm talking about Jon Ralston. He'll be joining us coming up at the bottom of the hour. We're going to talk about Ron Desantis. We're going to talk about Joe Lombardo, too. He vetoed this gun bill, and a lot of things to get to on the local home front when it comes to politics, with Jon Ralston joining us at the bottom of the hour. So many questions in the NBA. Of course, I believe we have the Celtics and the Miami Heat that are in action, Game 5. Paul MOkeski going to be joining us, the 12-year NBA veteran and 20-year coach, going to be joining us in studio, hour number 2. Talk about that series. Talk about the Lakers. LeBron James, is he going to be retiring? And then Ja Morant. Apparently there was police had a little bit of a welfare check on Ja Morant because of a tweet that he put out that was concerning to some. We're going to talk to Paul MOkeski about that and much more coming up in hour number 2 as well. And we'll get to all the big stories of the day, of course. Here's an interesting situation for you. We're going to talk a little VGK hockey too, because, of course, if I'm not mistaken, VGK in action tonight. They are playing Game 4. And the Knights are up 3-0, and they could sweep the series. But here's something interesting. If you're Mr. Foley, you're the owner of this team. In no way, shape, or form am I saying that the Knights are going to tank and lose this game on purpose. That's not what I'm saying. I'm not a conspiracy theorist. And in no way, shape, or form am I saying that the man who owns the team, Mr. Foley, is rooting for his team to lose for financial gain. I'm not insinuating that. All I am simply saying is that if the Knights lose today, Foley will be making an extra, give or take a few bucks, $5 million, because the Knights will have an extra home game this weekend to be able to end the series. I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I'm not saying that the Knights are going to tank and lose this game because clearly they want to end the series. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying if I'm the owner of a team, that could be in the back of my head. But then again, $5 million to Mr. Foley is like a free lunch to us common folk. So, I mean, that's probably not a lot of money for him. But I'm just throwing that out there. I'm just saying that the Knights franchise as a whole makes an extra $5 million or so if the Knights actually lose tonight. They get another home game. That's all I'm saying. I don't know what's going to happen tonight. The Knights could easily win. The Dallas are without some of their key players, one of whom got suspended 2 games for that nasty, dirty play on Mark Stone. We're glad Mark Stone is okay. I'm just throwing that out there. That's all I'm saying. I don't know what's going to happen tonight. I'm not rooting for the Knights to lose myself, but if they do lose, I'll say to myself, hey, we get to see a Game 5. But it's a win-win because if the Knights win tonight, we get to watch the Stanley Cup Finals in Las Vegas. It's a win-win. I think we're going to get that anyway, even if the Knights lose tonight. But it's an interesting situation. Here's another interesting situation, Dumbchuck. I want to get your thoughts on this story.
Do this.
Yes. So I was out with several friends last night. We went to the Top of the World restaurant at the Stratosphere. I don't know if you've ever been there. It's a very nice restaurant.
I've been there years ago.
It's a nice restaurant.
It is.
Nice
yeah.
view, tourist spot. So we're out there having dinner. We just get our entrees, right? And all of a sudden, this younger lady in her mid-20s comes up to our table and just starts chatting with us. She's like a customer at another table. She's taking pictures of us. She's taking pictures. And we're, okay, maybe just a friendly lady, no problem, right? And then she just sits down at our table. Now, I can tell as she begins to talk, she is inebriated. She is probably drunk or high or maybe both, all of the above.
Okay.
And then she sits next to my friend Guy David. I don't think Guy would have me. He's going to be my co-host, by the way, starting the first week of June, next week.
Yep.
Now, Guy David has a very beautiful girlfriend. And this lady cozies up to him, sits next to him, flirtatious with him. And I can tell that he's very uncomfortable. The fun and games ends after a minute or two. And then we're like, okay, how do we get this lady out of here? This is annoying now. We want to eat our meal, and this is weird. What do you do in that situation? Because I was just kind of laughing, and at the same time, I'm like, okay, this lady needs to get away from us, leave the table. Like, what do you do? Do you call the wait staff? Do you ask her kindly to leave? It was a very awkward situation that I have never been in before, and I did not know what to do.
I would almost get your waiter or waitress to be like,
Excuse me,
over
garçon.
Yeah. Garçon, get over here. Hey, I need your help a little bit.
So we didn't do that. She stayed at the table for like 10 minutes, asking me what my name was and asking me personal questions. And it was very, very, very awkward. And I've never been in a situation like that before. Eventually, she got up and left after everybody at the table was ignoring her. But it was very difficult for Guy because she's basically almost sitting in his lap. Like she's right next to him, very drunk. And it was a very awkward situation. And by the way, we're not sitting at like some cafe. We're sitting at a high-end restaurant. It was very strange. And then the people at our table weren't paying attention either. We were trying to get their attention. Say, hey, can you get your friend out of here? She's annoying. She's drunk, and she's ruining our dinner. Can you get her out of here? So it lasted about 10 minutes. I do have a video that I think I'm going to post of it on social media.
Nice.
It is an interesting video. So you would have asked the waiter. I probably should have done that next time.
Or been like, tell you, hey, friends.
Yeah.
Can you come get your person over here, please?
It's very awkward.
Yeah.
It's a very awkward situation. I felt bad for Guy. It was very strange. But maybe Guy could share his experience next week.
That'll be a fun story.
Yes, but anyway, that's how it went down at the Stratosphere at the Top of the World restaurant. Good restaurant. We had a good time. It was a lot of fun hanging out with some friends that are in town for the World Series of Poker. And really cool, really fun stuff. I'll tell you what was not cool. Ron Desantis last night. It didn't go very good for Mr. DeSantis. As you know, he officially, or maybe you don't know, officially put his name in the ring, so to speak, saying that he was running for president of the United States, and he decided to do it with Elon Musk on social media on Twitter. But it was a glitch-filled announcement, and it showed how fragile social media's platform infrastructure is since Musk took the site over. There's no question about that. This was supposed to be a historic moment for Twitter. Everything was supposed to run really smooth. And the uninterrupted conversation between DeSantis and Twitter CEO Elon Musk would be live streamed on Twitter Spaces to mark the event. But instead, The live audio event was beset with technical malfunctions. Now, we've had malfunctions at this station plenty of times. Nothing compares to this. After some 20 minutes of crashing and echoing and chaos, it ended. And many on Twitter had a one-word description for it, disaster. So what was trending on Twitter yesterday was hashtag Ron Disaster. That's what was trending on Twitter. The broadcast was delayed. Tech investor David Sachs, who was supposed to introduce the event, could be heard saying the servers are melting. At another point, Sachs attempted to speak, and echo reverberated his words back to him. It just keeps crashing, huh? The whole thing was an absolute disaster. And then you have monotone Ron DeSantis. Now, I think we have some audio of monotone Ron DeSantis, who has the personality, by the way, of a dead ant. I think we have some live audio. I think Ron DeSantis is currently doing a press conference right now talking about all the malfunctions that took place last night. Do we have some live audio of that? Do we? This is live audio of Ron DeSantis right now in talking about last night.
Bueller.
He's sick.
Oh, yeah, I see he's taking questions, too.
Ferris Bueller's Day Off. Yeah, he's taking questions. That's about what Ron DeSantis sounds like, about as monotone and as dry and as boring as Ron DeSantis sounds like. By the way, it gets worse. I can go on and on about the technical difficulties they had last night. And by the way, they're trying to play it off. Oh, Ron DeSantis was so popular, he crashed Twitter. Yeah, I'm sure that's what it was. So DeSantis went on Fox News last night, and he went on Fox News to try to, I guess, play a little bit of cleanup. Trey Gowdy, by the way, doesn't get more boring and more dry. But he made an appearance on with Trey Gowdy on Fox News yesterday, and listen to how high energy this interaction is.
I can't promise you that I won't crash, but Fox News will not crash during this interview. Governor DeSantis, if you broke Twitter, my daughter and the Kardashians are going to be very upset with you. I don't know if that's what happened with Elon Musk or not. Maybe he just had a big audience.
We had a huge audience. It was the biggest they'd ever had. It did break the Twitter space. And so we're really excited with the enthusiasm. But ultimately, it's about the future of our country. Trey, I'm running to lead a great American comeback. We know the country's on the wrong track. We see it with our eyes. We feel it in our bones.
Yeah, I feel it in my bones, Ron, when you speak, buddy. Listen to that enthusiasm. Nothing speaks enthusiasm and high energy more than Trey Gowdy and Ron DeSantis having a conversation. Talk about two of the dullest personalities on the planet. Yeah, I'm sure that's what it was. There were just millions and millions and millions of people that couldn't wait for Ron DeSantis to announce that he's running for president. You just crashed Twitter, Ron, because of your enthusiasm and how entertaining you are and how upbeat you are. It's funny because all these Republicans want to say, Joe Biden, no personality, Joe Biden in the bunker. I'll tell you what, I'd rather listen to Joe Biden make a speech than Ron DeSantis, and that has nothing to do with policy. Ron DeSantis has no personality. He couldn't even make the announcement live because he's so dry and boring. He did it with a guy by the name of Elon Musk, and obviously that didn't go very well. Yeah, nothing speaks more excitement than Trey Gowdy. And I like it how Trey Gowdy's trying to make some jokes. He brings up the Kardashians and his kids. Like Trey Gowdy trying to be entertaining, to me, is like, I don't even know what to compare it to. I really don't. I don't know what to compare it to. Like, it has that same feeling when Trey Gowdy tries to make a joke of when you were in high school or middle school and that teacher making that awkward noise on the chalkboard with the chalk. It had that kind of feeling. Like, just really awkward, and it's just wrong, and it's terrible. Now, here's where things got really strange. And I got to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, some politicians, or those that are attempting to be politicians, they answer questions in weird ways. And sometimes politicians, like, they don't want to answer questions at all. So I want to play for you this entire interaction. This is Trey Gowdy, and I believe Trey Gowdy is asking a very fair question. And it is about the war in Ukraine, the Russia-Ukraine war right now. And, he asked a very, very, what I think is a very fair question, which is, hey, if you're president on day one, what are you going to do? What do you think about this war? What are you going to do? So have a listen to this exchange. And I got to tell you, Ron DeSantis, his answer is mesmerizing, even by his standards and Republicans today. Listen to this.
All right, you wore the uniform. If you are elected president, you may be the first one in a while to have worn the uniform. How would you address the ongoing war in Eastern Europe between Russia and Ukraine on day one of a Ron DeSantis presidency?
Well, first, I think what we need to do as a veteran is recognize that our military has become politicized. You talk about gender ideology, you talk about things like global warming that they're somehow concerned, and that's not the military that I served in. We need to return our military to focusing on commitment, focusing on the core values and the core mission. That would be something that I could take care of on day one. There'll be a new sheriff in town as commander-in-chief, and I think you'll see recruiting start to get back to where it needs to be because people don't want to join a woke military, and I think it's been really, really problematic. Look, in terms of what's going on over in Eastern Europe, I'd like to see a settlement of this. I do not want to see a wider war. I think it's completely unknowable what it will look like in January of 2025, but I would not want to see the United States with our troops get enmeshed in a war in Russia or in Ukraine.
Great answer, Ron. That's a great answer. Because that's the answer that all Republicans have these days when it comes to anything. Just bring up wokeness. That's your answer when it comes. Okay, let's kind of go back here for a second. Trey Gowdy is asking Ron DeSantis on the day that he announces that he's running for president, what would you do on day one if you're president when it comes to the war in Ukraine? By the way, almost 400,000 innocent people have died. And the first thing that Ron DeSantis brings up is gender identity and global warming. How could anybody vote for this guy for president of the United States? Let me repeat. We're talking about almost 400,000 individuals that have been killed in this war. He's asked, what would you do on day one to end it? And his first go-to thing that he brings up, which is what so many people on the far right bring up, is gender ideology, transgenders, and global warming, which, by the way, has absolutely nothing to do with the question that was asked, which is how are you going to end this war? And the only other thing he says, with, by the way, no solutions, because Republicans these days have literally no solutions to any of the problems facing this country or perhaps a war in another country, in this case, Russia and Ukraine. The only other thing he says is, quote, I'd like to see a settlement. Very good, Mr. President, Mr. DeSantis, Mr. President. Day one, I'm going to say, I'd like to see a settlement. Call up Vladimir Putin and say, Mr. Putin, I'd like to see a settlement. I'm sure that'll work. And then you have Donald Trump. And Ron DeSantis' answer was much worse than even Donald Trump. I can't believe I'm saying this. Remember when Donald Trump was asked about this in that joke of a CNN town hall? And his response was, if I'm president again, I will end the war in 24 hours. Doesn't say how he's going to do it. What are you going to do? You're going to call up Vladdy? Hey, Vladdy, I promised people in the town hall that we would end this thing. Can we end it, please, within 24 hours? Donald Trump didn't say how he was going to do it. Ron DeSantis doesn't have any answers, but, they want to be president of the United States. Donald Trump wants to be president again. What is the infatuation with these people on the far right, these idiots? Let me be very clear. Ron DeSantis is an idiot. He's not very intelligent. He doesn't transcend with regular, everyday people. He has no personality. He's extremely stupid. Ron DeSantis is not a smart guy. Okay, I'm not Albert Einstein either, but if I'm running for president, and let's just say I don't have any answers as to how to end this war. By the way, I think there are some things you can do to help possibly end the war, but you're not going to end it within 24 hours. The way that I would answer that question, and I'm just off the top of my head right now, even if I don't want to answer the question, here's what I would say. I would say, this is horrible. This is a travesty. Innocent people are dying every day. We don't want to see war anywhere in the world. We certainly don't want to see it with our allies in the Ukraine. We want this war to end. Not only is it very expensive, but innocent people are dying by the day. Vladimir Putin invaded this country. It's wrong. It's terrible. He's committed war crimes. He's a criminal. And as a country, we need to do everything we need to do to protect our allies, but also end this war and end it fast. And I'll do everything in my power on day one as the president of the United States to do that. Notice how I didn't give any specifics on how I'm going to do that. There's a way you can answer the question without answering the question, if that makes sense. We all know for the most part, that most people, unless you're maybe Tucker Carlson or a right-wing idiot who's pro-Russia, just about everybody agrees that this needs to be settled and the war needs to be over. Innocent people are dying. It's costing money. It's costing innocent lives. We all agree on that. You need to give a little bit more than that, Ronnie. But that's what these people on the far right do. If Ron DeSantis is president of the United States, Mr. President, what are we going to do about inflation? Well, I think the first thing we need to do is go after the transgenders. Mr. President, what are we going to do about health care? You know, a lot of Republicans have a problem with Obamacare. What are we going to do to solve, all the health care issues in this country? Well, the first thing I would do is talk about global warming and, let's get rid of these transgenders and this gender ideology. Okay, well, I'm not sure what that has to do with what I asked you. Mr. President, Mr. DeSantis, what are we going to do about the border? You know, a lot of people say the border is wide open. Well, we got to do something about gender ideology first. I mean, this is the way this guy answers questions. It's mesmerizing. And it is mesmerizing that there are people out there like the Victor Jocks, who calls himself a journalist, who's a joke. The RJ must be very proud to have a guy like Victor Jocks. He's on the jock of Ron DeSantis. He has some weird fetish for Ron DeSantis. How do you support Ron DeSantis when he answers a question like that? We're not talking about a blunder. We're talking about a very, very serious situation. A war that should have never happened at the hands of an evil, murderous dictator in Vladimir Putin. And you're asked on day one, if you're president, what are you going to do about this war? And you bring up transgenders? What the hell does that have to do with the war? And by the way, who cares what is between your legs? There are so many Republicans out there that care so much about what's between your legs. What about serving your country and risking your life for this country? Don't you think that's a little bit more important than whether you're a transgender or not, or whether you call yourself a man or a woman? Who cares? You're risking your life for the country. What does it matter whether you call yourself a man or a woman? I don't understand why people are so obsessed with this issue. That's all they talk about on Fox News. That's all they talk about on these right-wing networks is transgenderism. You know, I'm driving into work today, and don't even ask me why, but I'm listening to a conservative radio station this morning as I'm driving into work. Are they talking about the war in Ukraine? Are they talking about health care? Are they talking about the disaster that was Ron DeSantis last night? No. You know what they were talking about? They were talking about how Target is selling gay merchandise or pro-gay merchandise. And they were saying, gosh, they put this stuff in our face. So because there's merchandise being sold at Target that is, I don't know, gender neutral or pro-gay, pro-LGBTQ, that's pushing it in your face? I don't understand the way these people think. I don't understand. Now, if somebody is in your face literally and saying, hey, you need to buy some of this stuff, you need to buy some of these gay shirts, you need to buy some of this pro-transgender stuff, yes, that would be putting stuff in your face. But because there's a section in Target that is selling this type of merchandise, you consider that as, quote, putting it in your face? Guess what? This is a free country. If you don't want to go to that section or buy some of that merchandise, whether it be a shirt or a hat or whatever, then you could walk past that section and go to the section that you want to go to. Why is that so hard for some of you people to understand? Why is that so hard? Nobody's putting anything in your face. Guess what? If there's a gay pride parade and you don't support gay people, then you don't have to go to the parade. You can go about your business and go about your day, and nobody is shoving anything in your face. Because guess what? I don't want to see two men kissing each other any more than I want to see a man and a woman kissing each other. That's not shoving anything in your face. You have freedom in this country to like or not like something. You have freedom in this country to change the station when you want to change the station. You have the freedom that when you're in a clothing store and you see a section that might be an LGBTQ friendly section or maybe a transgender friendly section, I don't know, you have the freedom to either buy something in that section or walk to another section. Why are people so bothered by this stuff? I don't care how Christian you are. I don't care how religious you are. You have the right to shop at another store. You have the right to shop in another section. You have the right not to buy something in that section. That's not pushing things on you. What they are doing is they are offering their services and they are offering certain products to certain people that may be interested in them. I mean, it's so ridiculous. It's so ridiculous. And it's so frustrating that these are the same people that talk about wokeism. These are the same people that talk about cancel culture. Yet, if they're selling something in a section at Target that they don't like, they want Target canceled. They bring up wokeism. Has Ron DeSantis ever made a speech in the last 2 years where he hasn't used the word wokeness? Has he ever gone through a speech where he hasn't said wokeness? You are asked on national television, on Fox News, on probably what is one of the most important nights of Ron DeSantis' political career, I would think, which didn't go very well, may or may not be his fault. You are asked what you would do if you were president on day one. On day one, you're asked, what would you do to try to end this conflict in the Ukraine? And he brings up global warming, and he brings up gender ideology. Is that the kind of leader that you want? I get it. Joe Biden has his issues. I totally understand that. He's old. He's probably too old to be president. I get it. He's no spring chicken. He's not perfect. He's not the best public speaker. I get all that stuff. Trust me, I do. And that's why I don't want Joe Biden to run again. Trust me, I understand that. But you would rather vote for Ron DeSantis when asked about the war in the Ukraine where almost 400,000 people have died and all that he brings up is gender ideology? That's the guy that you want as president of the United States? Are you effing kidding me? What an embarrassment. Oh, wait a second. I think we have some more live audio of Ron DeSantis. I think we have more of Ron DeSantis, if I'm not mistaken. I think we have him last night on with Trey Gowdy. This was a little bit more of the interview with the very exuberant, exciting, and enthusiastic Ron DeSantis. Have a listen to this.
Bueller. 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 Bueller.
Just tons of energy, man. I mean, you want to talk about a Donald Trump saying low energy? Remember when he said low energy, Jeb? What about low energy DeSantis? This guy, the more and more people get to know him, the more and more people see him on TV, the more and more you get to see who Ron DeSantis is. His poll numbers are continuing to drop and drop and drop. Like it or not, Donald Trump is going to be the guy running against Joe Biden. We're going to see those two old fogies running against each other again. Well, there probably won't be any running. Maybe walking. They're walking against each other. It ain't going to be Ron DeSantis, ladies and gentlemen. So condolences to Ron DeSantis and what took place last night. Mr. No Personality. Pathetic. All right. I'm going to take a quick break. I want to get from the Nevada Independent, I want to get Jon Ralston's thoughts on this. His thoughts on the debacle of last night. Ron DeSantis. We're also going to talk a little bit about Joe Lombardo early in his tenure as governor, vetoing some bills, including gun control. We're going to talk to him a little bit about that and much, much more. Jon Ralston will be joining us next. We'll take a quick break. We'll be back right after this. You're listening to Pushing the Limits right here on KSHP.
Hey everybody, are you struggling to find a pizza place that reminds you of Brooklyn? That true blue New York style pie? Well, worry no more. Stallone's Italian Eatery Pizza is a knockout. We're located at 467 East Silverado Ranch Boulevard, just off of Premier Road, half a mile east of South Point Casino, just minutes from the Las Vegas Strip. Come by and grab a slice of pie. Plus, check out our Brooklyn-inspired Italian cuisine. Our sandwiches are super. Hero, that is. Because why be a sub when you can be a hero? Stallone's Italian Eatery is here to serve you phenomenal food, Vegas. Forget about it.
Buying or selling a home is a huge life event that requires guidance from an expert in the industry and community. My name is Blake Wynn. You may recognize my name as my grandfather was the best governor the state of Nevada has ever had. Growing up in Las Vegas, I've come to know this community intricately. Now, I am raising a family here as well. So I understand all the issues impacting our home and quality of life. As the top realtor for the #1 real estate team at Keller Williams, you can have confidence in my experience, knowledge, and track record. When it comes to buying, selling, or investing in real estate, choose a name you can trust and someone who understands the community you call home. Call Blake Wynn today and experience the difference of a trusted expert. 702 540-3311.
Hey everybody, it's Brian Shapiro from Pushing the Limits. I want to tell you guys about Sahara West Urgent Care and Wellness. They're conveniently located on the southwest corner of Sahara and Jones. They're open Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. and Saturday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. At Sahara West Urgent Care, they'll take care of all your healthcare needs. They offer routine services such as physicals, STD testing, car accident treatment, and work injuries. You name it, they do it. They have on-site x-ray, EKG, ultrasound, and labs. They treat chronic conditions such as asthma, blood pressure, diabetes, and more. They also offer general wellness exams, treatments such as testosterone enhancement and cancer screening. They're located on Sahara, 6125 West Sahara Avenue. Their number is 702-248-0554. And the best part, they accept most major insurances and affordable cash pay prices, office visits starting at just $95. And I'm also a client, so please give them a call, 702-248-0554. All right, welcome back. It is Pushing the Limits on a Thursday. Thank you so much for joining us. Talking about the debacle of what happened with Ron Desantis last night. Not a good look for him, not a good look. And then the answer he gave to Trey Gowdy about what he would do on day one if he's president in regards to the war in the Ukraine, and he brings up gender ideology. I want anyway. Joe Lombardo vetoing some bills early in his tenure as governor is a man, of course, I have a great amount of respect for. He's with the Nevada Independents. And of course, I'm talking about Jon Ralston joining us on the line. It's been a little while. John, I really do appreciate you joining us on a Thursday. How are you?
Good to be back, Brian. Thanks for having me.
We got it. All right, we got it. Yeah, there we go. Cut the music. Thanks for joining us, John. I appreciate it as always, my friend. Before I get to some local issues, I wanted to get your reaction to what took place last night with the debacle that was Ron DeSantis attempting to announce that he's running for president on Twitter. What did you make of that whole debacle?
I think you're referring to the Elon Musk event.
Yes.
Are you not? Yes. I don't think it was a Ron DeSantis event, which is part of the problem, as many people have pointed out. The announcement for any office, Brian, is always like the one time that you get to control everything and you get your message out and all the rest of it. And instead, this was just like an advertisement for Twitter and for David Sachs to do all his weird stuff. And then you had the technical glitches. And so, is this a metaphor for his campaign? Is it something that's going to be forgotten pretty quickly? Yeah, I think it will be. Brian, I mean, people forget about stuff in like an hour in this day's media environment, but it does show a huge miscalculation on his and his team's part to try to be super clever. And it didn't turn out to be so clever, right?
No, not at all. What do you make of his poll numbers continuing to plummet? It seems like by the day.
I don't put a lot of stock in poll numbers right now. I mean, we're a long way away from the first primary ballot being cast. A lot is going to happen. And again, as I just alluded to, the velocity with which information moves these days and things can change. But listen, I still think Trump's a heavy favorite to be the nominee. But I think a lot of these major donors on the Republican side who have soured on Trump, don't think he can win, and have put all their eggs in the DeSantis basket, have to look at the supposedly well-oiled machine and what happened last night and say, whoa, wait a second.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you, John. I want to talk a little bit about what many Republicans seem to be obsessed with the last couple of years. I think you know what I'm going to, which is transgenders and gender ideology. I mean, last night, Ron DeSantis is on with Trey Gowdy, and Gowdy asked him what I think is a very important question. Day one, if you're president, what are you going to do about this war in Ukraine? What are you going to do about it? And I'm paraphrasing here, and Ron DeSantis brings up global warming, and he brings up gender ideology, which obviously has nothing to do with this war that's killed almost 400,000 people. What do you make of this era of these far-right Republicans? It seems like all they want to talk about is transgenders and going after the transgender community. What do you make of this? Because I find it to be very bizarre.
It's bizarre and sickening and all too transparent. Ron DeSantis, like his former roommate, Adam Laxalt, they're pals. Adam Laxalt is running his super PAC for him. They're culture warriors. They think that their pronouncements on things like transgender ideology and CRT and other things, These are wedge issues, what we used to call wedge issues, and they're trying to pander to certain segments of the Republican base. That's how DeSantis made his bones. He's just a more successful version of Adam Laxalt, essentially, in what he's doing, and he still hasn't had to talk about anything substantive, right?
Right, correct. And I wanted to ask you about Adam Laxalt because, of course, he's endorsing Ron DeSantis. Is that about as useless can be? I mean, can Adam Laxalt help anybody when he endorses somebody these days?
Not really. And if Ron DeSantis thinks that's his ticket to winning Nevada, Adam Laxalt's got an 0-2 on the scoreboard the last 2 cycles and the 2 most important races. I don't think it brings him anything. The really interesting thing is I'm waiting for on that, Brian, is that, Adam Laxalt totally embraced Trump. Trump tried to help Laxalt all he could. Trump doesn't take kindly to disloyalty. I am waiting for Trump at some point to unload on Laxalt. That's going to be quite humorous to hear.
Yeah, it will be. I'm looking forward to that. Since you brought up Donald Trump, I have to get your thoughts on this. You've been doing this for such a long time, covering politics. What did you make of the Donald Trump, what I call it a joke, CNN town hall? I thought CNN made a lot of mistakes there. What did you make of that town hall to begin with? Do you criticize CNN at all for doing that and giving Trump the platform? What did you make of that whole scenario?
Well, my column that I wrote about that. I rarely write columns anymore, but I wrote about that, and I'm just joking that I'm deeply hurt. I'm only somewhat hurt, but seriously, here's what I think. I think CNN should have done it. I think that the problem is in the execution. Listen, you don't want to have a bunch of clapping seals in there. That's never a good format to actually get information. But if you agreed to that for whatever reason, you've got to go in deciding to admonish the audience and to ignore them if they don't listen to the admonishments and push Trump. People after that said, oh, they never should have interviewed him live. You should always tape it, an interview with Trump, so you can fact check him later on. I think that's a mistake, because if you're doing it right, you can fact check him, and you don't let him go on to the next subject until he has answered whatever lie he has come up with. Caitlin Collins tried, but then she essentially gave up, in my opinion, and that's just not something you can do. She was in a difficult position. I interviewed people on TV for 15 and a half years. It's not easy, but they're your captives. Forget the audience. He is a captive of Caitlin Collins right then. Just keep asking him the same question. Let him do his performance art, call her nasty, say all the rest of the stuff. But you just got to keep going after him. But CNN did not execute that very well, even though I think they should have agreed to interview him.
Do you agree with me that I thought that somebody like a Jake Tapper or even a Jim Acosta should have been? I like Caitlin Collins. I think she's a very good, talented reporter, but I'm not sure she was the right person to be put in what you're right is a very difficult position. Do you think somebody else should have been there?
It's tough to say. As I said, Caitlin Collins was in a very, very tough position. I know Jake Tapper. I followed Jake Tapper for many, many years. I think it would have been a better outcome probably for CNN if Jake had been allowed to do the interview. But I have to tell you, they did that for marketing reasons. They want Caitlin Collins to be their new star, to take over their primetime spot, and that's why they did it. And they put her in an almost no-win position with the town hall format, someone of her experience. She did try a few times, and I think she may be a talented journalist, but the way they executed it was just terrible.
I tend to agree with you. What do you make of the fact that less than 24 hours after Donald Trump is found liable for sexual abuse and slander, that he continues to slander E. Jean Carroll even to this day? He was in Scotland the other day and he held a press conference there and he continued to say some nasty things about her. What is it going to take for this guy to just say, all right, I better stop doing this. I better stop slandering this woman. I mean, what do you make of this? It's unprecedented.
It is, and she's going to refile against him. But what will it take to shut up Donald Trump? That's a question people have been asking for a long time. Listen, he's probably going to get indicted at least once more and maybe twice more, Brian, if you read what's been going on with the Georgia and the January 6th investigations. And so, he'll just say it's a witch hunt and the biggest witch hunt in the history of the world and all the rest of it. And a certain group of people will believe that. The question is that group diminishing? Is it just going to stay at 25 or 30%, never move? That's the question that will determine the election, because there are a lot of Republicans who are worried that if he gets the nomination, and that segment of the Republican Party could theoretically get him the nomination, does he then lose the general election, despite all of Joe Biden's weaknesses?
Yeah. If you're just joining us, he is Jon Ralston, the Nevada Independent. All right. So, John, speaking of witch hunt, another national topic, what do you make of what Jim Jordan and the Republicans are doing in holding these hearings and, having these whistleblowers, not giving over any of the testimony to the other side? And then you have these Republicans coming out saying there's a there when it comes to Hunter Biden and Joe Biden and the criminal Biden family. We keep hearing this, yet we still have yet to see any real evidence. Even some Republican outlets, like even a Fox News, are calling them out on it. What do you make of this? And do you think there is anything there, or it's just a bunch of, as Joe Biden would say, malarkey?
Yeah, well, listen, I don't want to get into the details of the Hunter Biden thing. There is at least some smoke there. Whether there's fire or not is a different issue. But certainly the right vehicle to find out if there's fire is not a committee led by Jim Jordan, who is a hopeless, Trumpophile partisan who has no desire to get to the truth, but to change the subject, which is what the Hunter Biden issue has always been about. You shouldn't be surprised. No one should be surprised that he's behaving this way or the House Republicans are behaving this way. They essentially said this is what they were going to do during the campaign. And so, Marjorie Taylor Greene has filed impeachment proceedings against Biden and cabinet members. I mean, this is the kind of stuff that we expected would happen. Whether there's an actual real investigation that leads anywhere in the Hunter Biden thing, I don't know, but that's not the point of what they're doing.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you on that. And again, Jim Jordan's never passed anything in his life, and yet he seems to be obsessed with Hunter Biden and the Hunter Biden laptop. I wanted to talk to you about some local issues, John, if I may. Let's talk about Joe Lombardo vetoing this gun bill that was proposed. What do you make of this? Why do you think Joe Lombardo did what he did? Is this good or bad for the state of Nevada?
Well, he vetoed 3 of these gun control bills. It was no surprise that he did, although he's going against the grain of public opinion on those. But he just, to some extent, Nevada still goes back to the Wild West days, and we're a gun state, and Republican governors are always going to veto gun control kinds of things, whether they're a moderate or not. I do think that whatever kind of relationships were being put together between the Democrats and the Republicans are not helped by this. That Lombardo, who just right before I came on this program again, threatened to veto the budget, which is a much more serious issue because, the state needs the budget to keep running. And it looks like there might be a special session. It looks like a real train wreck developing between Lombardo and the Democrats who control the legislature. And unfortunately for normal people watching this, they just see it as dysfunction and inability to get things done. And I'm not sure that it takes on a partisan spin either way.
Did you sense this coming? I mean, you've spent time around Lombardo. You were part of the debate. You were the moderator when it was Sisolak and Lombardo. You did a great job. Did you sense this coming when Lombardo won? Did you see this was going to happen and there were going to be these types of issues early?
I think you could tell it was going to happen right after he gave his State of the State speech, where he laid out what he wanted to do. And the Democrats, up until the very end, have not shown much strategy in terms of how they're going to combat Lombardo. They don't have veto-proof majorities in both houses, only one. They did something that I think is pretty smart today, Brian, which is saying, go ahead and veto the budget, the governor, but nothing else is going to move. Meaning, you want to bring the A's here? That's not going to move. You want this film tax credit thing so Sony can move a facility here? That's not going to move. The governor has a lot of power in this state, disproportionate to almost any state, and he can control the agenda of whatever is in the special session. But what he can't do, Brian, is introduce bills. Only the legislature can do that. And all he can do is, if there's a special session, to say you can only consider these subject areas. The legislators control what the bills are. So it's a game of brinkmanship. It's obvious that they have not communicated well. You mentioned the gun bill vetoes. They just sent those over there knowing he was going to veto them. I'm not sure that does the Democrats any good either.
I agree with you on that. I think it's a waste of time. Speaking of which, Nevada lawmakers, this is a very important topic in Carson City, voted on Tuesday to criminalize fake presidential electors. We all know that Mike McDonald, who I on the record is saying I think is a complete clown and a liar. Mike McDonald was questioned by the FBI, pleaded the fifth when asked if he was part of this fake electorate scheme. They took his cell phone. I have no idea what's going on in that investigation. But what do you make of these Nevada lawmakers that have put this into action? What do you think about this?
Well, I mean, it's, a little too late, right? I mean, the attorney general determined whether he's right or wrong. I'm not a lawyer, but some lawyers said he could have prosecuted the fake electors. He decided not to. So now they're going to pass a law that specifically criminalizes it. What they did, what Michael McDonald and Jesse Law and the rest of what you appropriately call a clown show did by pretending to be the real electors and standing out there solemnly in front of the legislative building and having a ceremony, it's outrageous. They did send fraudulent documents essentially to the National Archives. So maybe there isn't a state crime. Maybe it's a federal crime. I don't know.
Yeah, I think Mike McDonald is guilty, and there are many others that are guilty, and they're going to be very lucky if they don't go to jail because of this. On another local home front, I don't always agree with the former Republican chair, Amy Tarkanian, but I've always said I believe she's a decent human being, a nice person. We talk from time to time. In respect to where the Republican Party is at locally today, we know that you remember when Michelle Fiore slut-shamed Amy Tarkanian, all because Amy didn't support her for her candidacy here. And then you have people like Sigel Chatta who go on social media and attack Amy Tarkanian for saying that she's bisexual. I mean, have you ever seen people like this? I mean, where the Republican Party is at today? I know not all Republicans are like this, but whatever happened to decency, and what do you make of what they've done to Amy Tarkanian, who supported some Democrats, which she has the right to do?
It's absolutely disgusting. And but the quality of these human beings that we're talking about, the Michelle Fiores and the Michael McDonalds of the world, these are bottom feeders, right? And their allies are bottom feeders. And it's a grift. And for Michael McDonald, it's been going on for a long, long time. He's one of the most ethically challenged human beings ever. And so it's sad. Amy, whether you agree with her or disagree with her, is a nice, good person, a dedicated person, someone who cares about the Republican Party and cares about electing Republican candidates. They don't care about electing candidates. They're just grifters. That's all they are, Brian.
Couldn't agree with you more. I had Cisco Aguilar, Secretary of State, in studio last week, and I just in having a conversation with him, smart guy, capable, honest, cares about this state, cares about his constituents, just a normal guy, a good guy, an educated guy. And then I think about his opponent back in 2022, Jim Marchant, who I guess is running for Senate now, from what I understand. And I say to myself, look at all the people, John, that voted for Jim Marchant. That race was a lot closer than I think it should have been. What do you make of the fact that so many individuals, I would imagine Republicans, voted for a guy who talks about the cabal and just a conspiracy theorist, no better than Alex Jones, but yet so many of those people in this state voted for Jim Marchant?
It's kind of scary, isn't it? I mean, they voted for people who were obviously unqualified. I have to tell you, it's just very, very scary. And people don't pay attention to down ballot races, and so they just vote party line.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is scary, and it's incredible how close that race was. Hey, what do you got going on before I let you go, the Nevada Independent? I love what you guys do over there. What are some of the latest stories that you want to share with us, and some of the things you guys are working on over there lately?
Well, we're working on this big budget story right now. The governor threatening to veto again, and the Democratic strategy. But my team up there is doing a phenomenal job. I hope all your listeners will go on the Nevada Independent site and to check out what we're doing, Brian.
And you are publicly funded, right? Care to share how people can donate to your organization? How do people do that?
Go right on the site and just click on that donate. We are transparent. We disclose all our donors, whether you give us $1 a month or you give us $1 million. We prefer the $1 million, but if you don't have that much, give what you can.
And you won't have any glitches like Ron Desantis had last
I don't think so. No, we try not to.
John, you know how much I respect what you do, my friend. You guys do a great job over there at the Nevada Independent. I always appreciate the time when you join the show. Do the Vegas Golden Knights win tonight before I let you go? I know you're a hockey fan.
I sure hope so. I love the Knights. I love this team, and it's really exciting. I hope they close it out tonight.
It damn well is. Well, always a pleasure, John. Thank you so much for joining us. Appreciate the time, my friend.
All right, man. Thanks again.
Thank you. That's Jon Ralston. Love what he does. Love his honesty. Really good at what he does. I really like the Nevada Independent. Always have since it started. And you know what's interesting, because I'm not even going to say who I was talking to, because the guy doesn't deserve me to even say his name on the air, because he's a clown. He's an idiot. Anybody who knows me personally probably is going to know who I'm talking about, so that's cool. But there's a guy I had a conversation with about 2 months ago. He's in sales and radio now. This guy used to be on the air in another state as a sports talk show host. He failed. Then he comes to Las Vegas and he's a program director, and he failed. He was fired. And now he sells ads for some of the most despicable people in radio that I could even think of. And he sells ads for one guy who does a show here who's just an awful human being. And he was complaining to me about how Democrats don't want to go on so-and-so's show. And I don't believe that, because I think a lot of Democrats will go on shows that are, hosted by Republicans. If they're asked and if they're treated with respect, they will. So that was a load of crap to begin with. And then I brought up Jon Ralston's name, and I said, why don't you ask Jon Ralston to come on your show? John doesn't mind being challenged, and he'll come on. And his response, this idiot's response to me was, Jon Ralston, liberal, Jon Ralston. This clown just complained to me how Democrats, and by the way, I don't believe that's true. I don't think Jon Ralston's a liberal, but even if it was, this clown just complained to me that Democrats or people on the left won't come on his boy's show. So I give him a name, and his response, that guy's a liberal. No wonder why they don't want to go on your show, you idiot. I've interviewed Jim Marchant before. He won't come on my show again because he doesn't want to be challenged. A perfect example of, and I was going to bring this up with John, but I'll just bring it up right now. Victor Jacques, I think that's how you pronounce his last name. He's a political writer. He's not a journalist. He's a political writer, a biased right-wing writer for the Review Journal, and they have plenty of them over there. Victor Jacques is one of them. So I hit up Victor on social media. This was several months ago. And he decided that he would come in studio, which was great. We had a respectful conversation. It was literally a 90-minute debate. That's what it turned into. And I knew it would turn into that. But it was respectful. We weren't calling each other names. I was very respectful to him. At times he was condescending to me, but that's okay. And we debated everything. We debated, the abortion issue, healthcare, transgenderism, Ron DeSantis, Donald Trump. I mean, we talked about everything, the Biden administration. We covered a lot of topics in 90 minutes, and even though I disagreed with them on almost everything, I thought it was a good conversation. It was a good debate. I said, all right. We had a respectful conversation when we got off air. I said, you're welcome to come back anytime. He said, great, I'll do it. And okay, disagree with him on a lot of issues, no problem. Good conversation, right? Follow me so far? So I hit him up like a month and a half ago. And I said, hey, Victor, love for you to come back on the show. We'll talk about these issues. What do you think? Doesn't get back to me. I email him a week later. Then he gets back to me and he said, hey, sorry, man, my schedule is really crazy. By the way, that week he went on Kevin Wall's show. So I knew he was full of crap. And I worked with Kevin Wall. He does a show here in town. I think he's a very nice man. I don't have any personal issues with him at all. But he doesn't challenge anybody. And he's like 1,000 other right-wing hosts across the country that they just do right-wing echo chamber radio. They don't have anybody on that disagree with him on anything. He doesn't challenge anybody on anything. For example, if the right-wing idiot guests that he has on a regular basis say Donald Trump won the 2020 election, he doesn't challenge them on that. If somebody says the earth is flat, you're going to challenge them on that, right? So that's Kevin for you. He does what 1,000 other right-wing hosts do. Don't challenge anybody, just have Republicans on. That's why I call it right-wing echo chamber radio. But Victor goes on that show all the time. So I email him again 3 weeks ago. And listen, I know what's going on. He's dodging me, and he doesn't want to be challenged. I know that. But I email him again 2 or 3 weeks ago. And I say, hey, Victor, I'd love to have you back on. I want to talk about this Donald Trump town hall with you. You know, you're a big Ron DeSantis guy. I'd love to have you on again to talk about. And he responds back to me, and he goes, instead of being honest and saying, Brian, I just don't want to be challenged, or Brian, I just don't want to do your show because I don't want to get into a debate with you, whatever. At least I'd have a little bit of respect for you if you were honest with me. I'm not entitled like that. You don't have to come on this show. I'm not Tucker Carlson. I'm not going to call you a coward if you don't come on the show. You don't have to come on here. Who am I to say that? I'd like you to come on, but you don't have to. But he lied to me, and he sends me an email, and and I have the emails to prove it, and he says to me, life is crazy. Sorry, can't do it. The definition of that is, I don't want to come on your show and be challenged on my ridiculous opinions. And then he goes on Kevin Walsh's show again. That is the definition of a coward. If you don't want to do a show, then be honest with me and tell me why. Be honest, that's all. That's all I ask is honesty. He's a coward. If you stand by your opinions, and many of his opinions are absurd, if he had it his way, if a 13-year-old girl, God forbid, is raped, she should be forced to have that child. That is crazy stuff. But he'll make it sound like my opinions are crazy when I think a woman should have the right to choose what she wants to do with her body. But that's here nor there. That is an opinion. But when you're not confident enough, or you think you're the smartest person in the room, which, by the way, he's not. If I'm in the room, he's not. But he thinks he is. If you think you're smarter than everybody else, then you should be able to debate somebody and have a conversation. And in many of the questions that I asked him, his response was, well, I wasn't really prepared to answer that. Well, these are your opinions. You talk about it on social media. You should be prepared to talk about it. But his response is, things are crazy. Okay, well, things are crazy, but you have no problem going on Kevin Walsh's show, which is echo chamber right-wing radio. I know when somebody's lying to me. I'm a poker player. I know when somebody's bluffing, okay? And Victor is a huge Ron DeSantis fan, which is fine. He has some sort of weird fetish for Ron DeSantis, which is fine. That's totally fine. But he's the kind of person that'll put up a tweet but doesn't want to be challenged on anything and won't respond to anybody that challenges him. If you believe in what you believe in and you're confident in your beliefs, then you should be able to debate anybody on what you believe in. I'll have a conversation with anybody that disagrees with me. Literally anybody I'll talk with. Could be a politician, any type of person. I'll gladly do it. I do it on the show all the time. Victor is not that person. So the Review Journal must be very proud in hiring a bunch of cowards. Victor's one of them. Victor, you're welcome to come back on this show anytime you like, or you can continue to choose your right-wing echo chamber radio shows where you will never be challenged. That's your right. You have that right, Victor. Is his name Jokes or Jocks? I don't know.
Either one.
Either one. We'll call him a joke. Victor Jokes. Victor Jokes, you're welcome to come back on anytime. All right, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to be talking some hoops. John Morant, a welfare check by law enforcement. Why? We'll tell you exactly what happened there. Celtics Miami, is the series going to be over in 5? We'll get to that. What's going to happen to the Lakers in the offseason? Is LeBron James retiring? Boy, do we have a lot to get to coming up in hour number 2. Paul MOkeski, the 12-year NBA veteran, joining us. We'll take a quick break. We'll be back right after this with Paul. You're listening to Pushing the Limits right here on KSHP.
Hey everybody, are you struggling to find a pizza place that reminds you of Brooklyn? That true blue New York style pie? Well, worry no more. Stallone's Italian Eatery Pizza is a knockout. We're located at 467 East Silverado Ranch Boulevard, just off of Premier Road, half a mile east of South Point Casino, just minutes from the Las Vegas Strip. Come by and grab a slice of pie. Plus, check out our Brooklyn-inspired Italian cuisine. Our sandwiches are super hero, that is, because why be a sub when you can be a hero? Stallone's Italian Eatery is here to serve you phenomenal food, Vegas. Forget about it.
Buying or selling a home is a huge life event that requires guidance from an expert in the industry and community. My name is Blake Wynn. You may recognize my name as my grandfather was the best governor the state of Nevada has ever had. Growing up in Las Vegas, I've come to know this community intricately. Now, I am raising a family here as well, so I understand all the issues impacting our home and quality of life. As the top realtor for the #1 real estate team at Keller Williams, you can have confidence in my experience, knowledge, and track record. When it comes to buying, selling, or investing in real estate, choose a name you can trust and someone who understands the community you call home. Call Blake Wynn today and experience the difference of a trusted expert. 702-540-3311.
Sapphire Pool and Day Club, the world's only topless gentlemen's day club, introduces its 2023 pool season lineup with a bevy of beauties and social media celebrities throughout the summer who will all host alongside hundreds of Sapphire's topless poolside entertainers. Enjoy brunch in the sun with items like frittata-style omelets, stripping chicken, and French kiss toast before washing it down with signature summertime cocktails. 10 lines, beware. Go Bear! Ladies are welcome to go topless within the day club for the ultimate party. Guests can purchase affordable day bed packages, cabana packages, lounge chairs, and more. The best part though? Pushing the Limits will be broadcasting shows every other Friday throughout the pool season with a ton of surprise celebrity guests. Wow! Reserve your spot now. For more info, visit sapphirepoolLV.com or call 702-869-0003. That's 702-869-0003. See you at Sapphire.
Hey everybody, it's Brian Shapiro from Pushing the Limits. I want to tell you guys about Sahara West Urgent Care and Wellness. They're conveniently located on the southwest corner of Sahara and Jones. They're open Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. and Saturday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. At Sahara West Urgent Care, they'll take care of all your healthcare needs. They offer routine services such as physicals, STD testing, car accident treatment, and work injuries. You name it, they do it. They have on-site x-ray, EKG, ultrasound, and labs. They treat chronic conditions such as asthma, blood pressure, diabetes, and more. They also offer general wellness exams, treatments such as testosterone enhancement, and cancer screening. They're located on Sahara, 6125 West Sahara Avenue. Their number is 702-248-0554. And the best part, they accept most major insurances and affordable cash pay prices, office visits starting at just $95. And I'm also a client, so please give them a call, 702-248-0554.
The London Bridge Resort in Lake Havasu is the perfect place to vacation in style. Their beautifully designed suites include stunning views, a kitchenette, and free Wi-Fi. The well-reviewed and affordable resort has tons of amenities, including a breakfast buffet, kids camp, a 9-hole golf course, 3 pools, a marina, boat tours, a water slide, and a great nightlife scene. London Bridge Resort is centrally located in Lake Havasu City, Arizona. Go to londonbridgeresort.com to plan your getaway today. London Bridge Resort, your Arizona oasis destination.
The world-famous radio shopping show, weekday on 1400 KSHP North Las Vegas and KSHP.com.
All right, welcome back. It is Pushing the Limits on a very bright and sunny Thursday. Thank you so much for joining us. I want to tell you guys about my favorite gaming bar in town, which is Jackson's Bar and Grill, located at Flamingo and Jones. You missed the promotion yesterday in May, which is earn 200 points, spin the wheel, went up to $3,000, and then earn another 300 points. You get to spin the wheel again. But the good news is there's another promotion tomorrow. If you earn 1,500 points tomorrow, you get $100 in free play on Saturday. Please check them out, Jackson's Bar and Grill. Great food, great atmosphere, great people, and many of those Jackson's Bar locals will be joining me at Sapphire tomorrow. Anthony Curtis The MIT Blackjack card counter will be at Sapphire tomorrow. Really looking forward to that. We got some more special guests. DJ Asheville will be there. Looking forward to catching up with him. Marcus Banks will be there. And John DiDomenico, world's best Trump impersonator, will be there as well. So it's going to be a lot of fun. I have a guy in studio who is an NBA impersonator. He impersonated a guy who played in the NBA for 12 years. He had 8 long years with the Milwaukee Bucks. He coached for 20 years. Paul MOkeski's impersonator is joining me in studio right now.
How's it going, Brian?
Going good. Going good, Paul.
I just got home from my cabal meeting. We decided to shut your show down.
Really?
Yes.
You sound like Jim Marchand. Wow. Paul is wearing his vintage. Back in the days when he played for the Pistons, his vintage Detroit Pistons hat. Did you have to pay for that hat?
No.
You got a comp hat.
You know me. I don't pay for whatever I cannot pay for.
That's true. Me and Mo and his awesome family, his 2 sons, we were hanging out in Laughlin last weekend. We had a great time. That was a good
Rose
time.
Trip, yeah.
Yeah, they gave Mo like a nice little cabana there. It was very relaxing, actually. That's probably the most relaxed I've been in a long time.
You're an honorary son now.
I'm not tall enough.
We took a vote and you're in.
I'm not tall enough. I need another foot to be your son.
You bailed out on us in the Losers Lounge all around. I turned around, you were gone.
Yeah. You know what? Club scenes are not usually my thing, but it is a lot of fun down there, and I did buy your kids a shot.
Oh, yeah.
I went back, and we all had a shot of Patron, and we had a good time. Laughlin was a lot of fun. That was a good time. So, Mo, we got a lot to get to, man. There's a lot of stuff happening in the NBA right now. Before we get to LeBron and the Lakers and Denver, and before we get to the Eastern Conference Finals, which is Game 5 tonight between the Miami Heat and the Boston Celtics, I want to talk to you about something that I think is, and I think you would agree, this is a serious topic. We've talked about John Morant a lot lately, Mo. We know all the issues he's had, and lately, a few weeks ago, another video with him with a gun that turns out. And, it's interesting because J.J. Redick goes on First Take, and he said, why are we going after John Morant? He hasn't broken any laws. I understand. I don't condone what he did. But I think this is serious. And I think when people are defending John Morant and saying he shouldn't be suspended a half a season, so on and so forth, I disagree with them. I think what he's doing is very, very serious, and it could kill somebody.
Yeah, and JJ needs to relook at his idea of laws, because the first incident was in Denver at a club where he brandished a weapon. That's against the law. And depending on the manner that you brandish it in public, in a car, if he's waving it around, that could be against the law also. So, but that's beside the point. It's about the law a little bit, but it's about rules and regulations and his history with the NBA, and everything piles up on everything else. Your history does matter when you're working for a company, which the NBA is, or a team, or an organization, and when you're punished one time for doing something wrong in their eyes, and then less than 2 months later you do it again, that's a problem. And nothing against JJ Redick. I mean, he's a good commentator and everything, but my 2 sons, and if I was raising, and when I'm raising my 2 sons, I don't say, you know what, they did this XYZ, but it did break the law, so that's okay. No, it's not okay.
Yeah, I agree with you. There's nothing okay with this, and I disagree with JJ Redick.
And I appreciate the way Adam Silver's been kind of handling it, but I think he went off the rails when the second incident happened, and his quote was, "I'm very surprised," or I think a word you used was shocked.
Yeah.
How can you be shocked when he's had a history of doing stuff like this, and he goes to treatment for 11 days? And now you think he's magically healed?
I don't speak for Adam Silver, but I would, if I try to get into his mind, I would say they probably had a pretty good conversation.
Oh, absolutely.
And I would think that John Morant admitted what he did was wrong, and he was very sorry, and he probably promised Adam Silver that he wouldn't do it again. And they probably left on good terms. And that maybe that's why he used the term shocked a little bit, but I also understand what you're saying. When you look at this guy's history, should we really be surprised? And so I agree with you. But now it gets worse, Mo. And it gets worse because he goes on social media and he puts up a post that says, love you, Pops, love you, Ma, and he says, bye. And that was serious enough for somebody to call the police. They performed a welfare check on his house. He said he was fine, everything okay, but I think we all could probably agree that he's not okay. That was a cry for help. And when you make a post like that, that could be something along the lines of depression. Oh, woe is me. He probably knows he effed up big time. He really effed up this time, the second time around. And this is serious. And now it's about the young man's mental health. And, we don't want something bad to happen. And this is now getting to a point where I think he really needs to check himself into a facility. I mean, that's just my personal opinion. He's going to try to blow it off as, no, I just meant I was getting off of social media. I'm not buying that for a second.
Yeah, I mean, you can blow it off, whatever. If you were saying that, why did you take it off like less than 15 minutes after you posted it? Why did you do that?
Right.
And the other thing about welfare checks, my sons are in the police area, and you don't just, if someone randomly calls you to do a welfare check, you don't rely on that. It has to be a responsible party, and that means a family member, a work person that you didn't show up to work, or you're concerned about someone at work, or it could have been someone from the league. So it had to be someone in that category. So it had to be serious enough for someone there to call it in, and they had to be very concerned because the way he posted it, and after what he's been going through, there's people that are concerned, rightfully so.
Sure.
And I agree. It seems to me like a cry for help. You can say whatever you want and sugarcoat it, but like we talked about before, until you're ready to accept help, you're not going to get better.
Yeah.
So I hope that someone can get through to him as soon as possible, because guess what? His life's not going to get any simpler. He's going to be suspended from the league for
a while,
a month, 2 months, half a year, who knows? But it's going to be, and what is he going to do with his time in that period, and how is he going to get recover from that? And from personal experience and been around a long time, the best thing to do is when you have a problem is to admit you have a problem, and then how am I going to fix it, and then accept the right kind of help, which is surrounding him. All he needs to do, if he can throw a rock and find someone that's credible to help him, whether it's someone from the NBA, whether it's John Lucas, whether it's a teammate, whether it's Carmelo Anthony, who just retired and could help, anybody would be willing to help him if he reached out. So it's right there for him. He just needs to make that reach.
Something about ego with him, or pride, or whatever you call it. He just doesn't seem like the kind of guy that is willing to admit, hey, I have a problem. Hey, I need to get help. He just doesn't seem to be that kind of guy. And that could be very difficult, because if you're not willing to get help, things aren't going to get any better. And I don't see anything getting better for this kid and let's be honest, he's very, very young.
Yeah.
He's not going to get help that he needs if he's not willing.
Well, we know in this situation, anything like this, whatever that situation be, you're having a problem, one of the first biggest barriers is denial.
Yeah.
Barriers is denial, and that's what he seems to have right now.
Really unfortunate. I think some Lakers fans are in denial as well. Let's move on to that before we get to the series and them losing 4-0. What do you make of LeBron James in his statements in the press conference after the game, walking to his car, telling a reporter that I have serious things to think about, and then he alluded to the fact that he could retire. Now, I don't think it's going to happen, but what do you say, and why do you think he would do this? Is he doing this because he's serious, or is he saying this because he wants the Lakers to make some acquisitions and get a guy like a Trae Young?
I think the latter of what you just said, and you know what, it's really, I've been in that situation, not to his level, but after you lose a series or a tough game, and reporters are asking you these questions, you're human. So, so you're gonna say something. A lot of times you say something that in the heat of the moment. It always, like, I think Saturday Night Live did a joke sketch on it or whatever, where NFL you go into the losing locker room with a coach, and you put a microphone in his face and say, hey, how do you feel right now, coach? I feel like shit. That's how I feel. But I don't think LeBron. He's still, and at the same time, he said, I'm better than 90 or 95% of the league, so why would you retire?
Doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, but he has enough money, he has a lot of things going on, but I don't think a guy of his stature, if it was me, I don't want to go out that way. Like if I don't want to go out being swept in the playoffs.
Right.
No matter what, I got the scoring record, all that stuff, and championship ring. I'm not going to go out that way. And the other thing is, I think LeBron wants to go out and have everybody show him appreciation, which they should. And I think it was a comment to the higher-ups in that organization that, hey, I'm not a given right now. So you can't just pencil me in and say I'm going to be here if you're not going to make the right moves in the offseason. and I have to go through this again, because let's be serious. The first half of the season was a nightmare for him.
Yeah.
I thought he was going to quit halfway through the season. He did an interview, and it looked like he was ready to quit. This is not how I want to play. This is not where I want to be. And and they turned it around, and they made some good moves. And
they did.
Let's see that. I mean, the run they made in the playoffs. Are you kidding me? They had to be a play-in team, and then they went to the 2 rounds, and even though they got swept by a really good team, by the way. I mean, that's a success of where they came from like 5 months ago to where they ended up. But people don't see it that way. But I don't see LeBron retiring at this point. I mean, I do think he ran out of gas. I think because the first half of the last game, he scored 30 points, 31 points, and he was taken to the basket strong. They couldn't stop him. Get out of it. Yeah. They can't stop him. In the second half, I'm looking at the TV yelling, why aren't you driving the ball?
As was I.
Well, the fact is his legs were gone, and he had expended all that energy in the first half. He is 38 years old. And, he was a passer and tried to get his teammates to help him win that game. But he did run out of gas. And my suggestion, I've talked to people, if he comes back, which I think he will, he needs to readjust his game like a lot of people do when they get old. So he can't run with the athletic guys on the perimeter anymore.
Right.
It's too much for him. Bring the ball down, do all that stuff. It's too much. So why don't you adjust your game and become like a Tim Duncan and get on the Tim Duncan 3-quarter block, post up. You're 6'9", 280. So you're just the size of a center. You could be a distributor. You could be a joker kind of on the block. Change your game so you're not expending your energy running and guarding these guys, and now you're a 4 or a 5. And, let's look at Michael Jordan. When he got older, he was the post guy. He was the middle of the triangle. That's what he became.
Right.
Same with Kobe Bryant. When you look – there's a video out there that has Kobe's moves compared to Michael Jordan's. They're identical off the 3-quarter post. So, LeBron, why don't you think about that and then build a team around that where you become that kind of guy, and now you're really dangerous.
So, Mo, everything you said, I agree with. The problem is, and I agree with you, the first half, LeBron was unbelievable, and it just looked like he ran out of gas. It wasn't because he didn't want to win a basketball game, because he didn't have any legs, and I'm willing to buy that, and I agree with you there. I look at Anthony Davis and the way he played. He had a few good games here and there. It seemed like he had one good game per series, right? He was atrocious in Game 4. And I mean atrocious. And you look at his stat line, you say how many points he scored. Oh, Brian, it wasn't that bad. He wasn't horrible. Yes, he was. Because there's a lot of things that don't show up in the stat sheet. Example, missing a layup on one end of the floor, and then not getting back on defense. Trotting back. And I understand LeBron at times was the same. He's also 38 years old. Anthony Davis is not 38 years old. So he's hurting his team on both ends of the floor, things that don't show up in the stat sheet. I thought Davis really hurt his team in this series and at times really hurt his team in the playoffs. And there were other games he had where he had great games and he propelled his team to victories. I get that. But Davis was extremely inconsistent. He did not play like an all-star. He was atrocious in Game 4. And I'm just going to use this term out there, and I know my former co-host won't like it, soft. Okay, at times Anthony Davis is soft. And I know that Jokic is a physical specimen, and he's a great rebounder. I get that. But there were times where Davis, stick your ass out and box out. Box him out. I mean, that's got to drive you crazy your years of coaching when he's just standing there and watching. How many times did we see Davis standing there, doesn't have a body on anybody? That's basketball 101. When a shot is taken, aren't you supposed to be looking around you and put a body on somebody? I mean, I don't know. I just think that Davis was really bad as a whole in the playoffs.
Yeah, first of all, let me answer that. Nobody blocks out anymore. Nobody. Just watch a game. Nobody. It drives me crazy. Nobody blocks. It becomes a jumping, reaching.
Right.
And that's why the Joker wins a lot, right? He's 7 foot tall, and he's got long arms, and he's got a wide body. He's going to win that.
Right.
So, but as far as Anthony Davis, I agree. He does a lot of things not on the score sheet that does help his team. Like, he blocks shots, but he also alters a lot of shots. And that's not
sure.
And he expends a lot of energy there. But he is what he is. His whole career, he's been spectacular. Then he's been average. Then he's been absent. So he's inconsistent. That's what he's gonna be. And I know a couple people has mentioned this, and I agree. And I thought this years ago. If I'm LeBron James, I'm going to Anthony Davis now and saying, listen, I'm going to come back. you know the work I put in on my body, right? I need you to do that this summer with me. Do it with me. Become stronger, more durable, and do it with me and make that sacrifice for 3 months or 4 months. Much like, I've said this, and I don't know if anybody's picked it up. Like, I'm a Milwaukee Bucks lifer. I played for them for 8 years. I love the Milwaukee Bucks. I love Giannis, and I love his attitude and his competitive. But come on, Giannis, you need to get better. You're the most talented, challenged MVP ever in the history of the NBA. You've gotten MVP twice. You're a physical specimen. You play hard. You rebound. You go to the basket. You attack. You do all that stuff. You compete. You're a bad free throw shooter. You're a bad three-point shooter. You're a bad passer. You have no mid-range game. You go all the way or you charge instead of pulling up.
Right.
So those are 4 things that you need to improve in the summer.
Right.
Come here to Vegas, Giannis. Come work with me for a month. But much to that, I think of AD with his body, what he has to do. And, they got decisions to make, both those players, but also the team. Because, you're looking at next year between them, between AD and LeBron, they make $87 million next year. Your salary cap is $134 million. So just figure that numbers out. And actually, the Lakers have about $100 million already committed to players, and that's not talking about Austin Reeves, D'Angelo Russell, Lonnie Walker, some of those guys that are keys. That's not counting that money.
Right.
I think the first decision is LeBron's coming back. To put that aside, AD, what are you going to do? Are you going to put in the work this summer to get to where we need to get to?
Yeah.
Because, the season was lost, and then they made a move, and they made an unbelievable run. They were like 29-6 or something to even make it. They were 13th or 11th with about a month or a half left to the season,
right?
And they made it into playoffs. But they have a big commitment to make, and please don't make it Kyrie Irving. Please don't do that.
Well, I've heard Trae Young. That's a name that we've heard.
Yeah, but to get Trae Young, you're gonna have to trade half your team.
Right. He's
get
expensive.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about the head coach, Darvin Ham. You know a thing or two about coaching. You did it for 20 years at a very high level, at the highest. I thought the play calling down the stretch in many of these games left something to be desired. I understand he's respected. He's a former professional player, well respected among his peers. I get all that stuff, and he's kind of like a manager and managing egos. I get all that. I felt like there was no innovation in the play calling down the stretch and the game management down the stretch in a lot of these games. I give him a C- at best.
Yeah, I've known Darvin for a long time. I coached against him.
You play against him?
I didn't play against him.
Yeah.
I coached against him in the G League. It was with Albuquerque, and I've known him for a long time. Really a respected player. He got the most out of his talent. Wasn't the most talented. Really athletic, super athletic, competitive, all that stuff. And he's paid his dues in the G League and then as an assistant in the NBA, and he was on the bench with the Milwaukee Bucks when they won it all. But I agree. I think that last play, whatever the hell that was a disaster. And first of all, LeBron's legs are gone, so if you're a former player, you should know that. And maybe use him as a decoy. Because you do have – everything was to the left of the floor. If you look to the right, there's AD standing alone by himself.
Right.
So you need to have a play where you can swing the ball and attack from the other side. And LeBron, to me it was like I thought he said, okay, there's 4 seconds left. I'm the man. I'm going to make this move, and whatever happens, happen. But it looked like it was half-hearted. They got the hand on the ball. He didn't really get a shot up. I would have much rather seen him, swing the ball to AD. AD, take a jump shot.
Or in one situation there where you want him maybe to take the three, maybe that wouldn't have been a horrible decision where he had the three, he could have taken that. He decided not to settle there, and then he's double-teamed.
I could drop a play. I've run for years, and it's an option of getting it in and getting a quick 2 or kicking it back out for a 3.
Right.
Easy speasy.
Right.
And it would have the floor spread. And I didn't see any of that. And he had a timeout. He called a timeout to run that play. Mm-hmm. And that's a big key of a coach. If a team, after a timeout in a situation, and they drop a play, ATO, after a timeout play, and it's effective, that's a good coach.
Right.
But if it's a disaster and you don't really get a shot off, that's a sign of bad coaching.
Right. Yeah, I was very disappointed down the stretch. And not only that, but even in the final 2 minutes, turnovers by the Lakers, settling for outside shots. And again, they were up double digits at home. It's a game you got to get the W, and you got to find a way to win that game. But
I'm going to tell you, too.
Yeah.
You want inside info?
Sure.
So we had 2 series, right, where it's sweep or game 5.
Mm-hmm.
One series, the team, if they win, they have to go fly to the other city. One team, if they win, they're just going home. They got to go home anyway.
Right.
Lakers would have had to say, okay, do we really want to go to Denver and maybe get blown out in Denver or whatever? You know, that has something to do with it. And Boston saying, hey, you know, we got to go home anyway. We might as well play a game. That's my little insight of NBA insight right there.
There you go. Yeah, I want to talk about the Boston-Miami series when we come back, and I thought the series was going to be over in Miami, but Boston extending that. So we will get to that. But going back to the Denver Nuggets and how great Murray has been, and I tell you, Murray's really improved over the last few years. It's unbelievable the player he is now. But, you know, Jokic is the guy everybody's talking about, rightfully so. I mean, I've kind of said myself, this guy has the ability to be one of the top 10 players to ever play in the NBA. I think he's that good. And what he does at the position as far as passing the ball, reading the defense, dribbling the ball like a point guard at times, and some of those shots, Mo, this isn't luck anymore. I mean, you played against Manute Ball, right? And I'm looking at some of these shots. He looks like the grasshopper, Manute Ball, where he's off of one leg, Dirk Nowitzki, with the shot clock winding down. He takes the basketball. A guy like Anthony Davis, who's huge, can't even get close to blocking it. He puts it behind, like a Larry Bird-type jump shot behind his head. And he made 5 of those in this series. 5! He made 2 in Game 4. At some point, do we say, that's not luck? That's skill. This guy can shoot the 3. In desperation, he's got incredible touch and eye-hand coordination. I mean, the shots that this guy makes, I've never seen a center make in my life.
Yeah, and those are killer shots because the shot clock is down,
right,
playing good defense, and the thing goes in.
Right.
And you could see, like, in Game 3 or 2 or whatever, he made a couple of those, and you see the look on Anthony Davis's face and the smile. I don't agree with that. You shouldn't react like that, but he did. But, you know, those are impossible shots. Those won the game. I mean, those are 2 of them in a big game. He doesn't make those. Lakers win the game.
Right.
It's skill, yeah. I guarantee he practices that. He's a European player. Even 10 years ago when I was coaching Great Britain team in Worlds, and I would watch Spain warm up or Greece warm up, guys were taking that shot. And I'm like, in the NBA, you know, what? Hey, stop that. Take game shots. Well, they're turning into game shots. So, and I would say that he's probably one of the 5 only other guys that in that league that can make that shot, maybe. You know, semi-consistently.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, I put them – those are game-breaker shots. Those are, you know, the dagger. That's what kind of shot that is. When they do that at the end of a shot clock or the end of a quarter, it just brings your whole team down. It used to be if you could get like a Dominique Wilkins dunk, and that would bring the other team down. Those shots make it worse because you did everything you could do.
They really do, and you play 22, 23 seconds of really good, solid defense, and then he does that twice. You're right. It's almost like scoring 7 or 8 points.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really.
And with Jamal Murray, the story of that, I've known Jamal for a long time. He was at prep school when I was coaching up in Canada, practiced in the same gym, watched him play with Brooks from Memphis and Thon Maker, who was a great player too, and he was one of the hardest workers. And what makes me happy to see his success is he had a terrific knee injury 2 years ago, horrific, and worked and got depressed and went and got help from guys who, and actually one of the guys who helped him was Klay Thompson, who had been through that.
Wow.
And he called Klay, and Klay said, I've been there, you got to stick this out, blah, blah, blah. Now to see where he's at after all that. There's a picture of him watching the playoffs on crutches with a big knee brace a year or 2 ago, and you can see in his face he wanted to be on the court. That's what's great about Jamal Murray. And
that's nice to hear.
And he's turning into phenomenal, like,
I mean, is there another guy in the world right now where you say to yourself, when he releases the basketball, it's not even going to touch the rim? I mean, it seems like every shot he's taking for the most part is going in. Tough shots, off-balance shots. hand in your face. That guy is on fire. I mean, he can't miss.
Yeah, Booker in Phoenix, Clay, and Steph in Golden State. Maybe Trey in Atlanta. But those type of guys where when he shoots it, it's like
it's unbelievable.
That's going in.
Yeah,
I've seen guys like that. One of the biggest was Allen Iverson when I was scouting, and I scouted a game in Memphis. I was sitting on the court, and I think I saw him score 47. And I don't think any one shot even touched the rim. You're like, that's amazing. And
it's fun to watch. And Jamal Murray has been, unless you're a Laker fan, Jamal Murray has been a lot of fun to watch. Good dude.
Good team.
Yeah, really good team.
Good coach.
Really. I was just going to say that. Really good coach. Tough coach. Players love him, respect him. But Malone has been around a long time, and it's interesting. Some people have told me. I had Jamison Walsh, my hoops guru, on earlier in the week and told me, some of these teams on the West Coast, games are later. A lot of people aren't watching these games and noticing the staff, and maybe that's something to do with it. But Malone's a really good coach. And
the Nuggets are a team. If you look at them, they're not the 15 best players. They're the 15 players that make up the best team.
Yeah, and
they
run
a team.
And they run really good stuff. They make the defense work really hard. And they're underrated defensively as well. I mean, try scoring in the paint against Denver. It ain't easy, that's for sure. All right, here's what we're going to do. We got Mo joining us, Paul MOkeski, 12-year NBA veteran, 20-year coach. We haven't even gotten started yet. We got to get to the Boston Celtics-Miami Heat series. I know some people, some professional gamblers, that believe the Celtics have a chance to still win this series.
I heard 45% chance.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd go that high. I'm a Celtics fan, but we'll talk.
That's what I heard. That's what I saw.
Yeah, I don't know if I agree with that, but I do think they win tonight. We'll talk about that when we come back. Take a quick break. Be back right after this. You're listening to Pushing the Limits right here on KSHP.
Hey, everybody. Are you struggling to find a pizza place that reminds you of Brooklyn? That true blue New York style pie? Well, worry no more. Stallone's Italian Eatery Pizza is a knockout. We're located at 467 East Silverado Ranch Boulevard, just off of Premier Road, half a mile east of South Point Casino, just minutes from the Las Vegas Strip. Come by and grab a slice of pie. Plus, check out our Brooklyn-inspired Italian cuisine. Our sandwiches are super. Hero, that is. Because why be a sub when you can be a hero? Stallone's Italian Eatery is here to serve you phenomenal food, Vegas. Forget about it.
Buying or selling a home is a huge life event that requires guidance from an expert in the industry and community. My name is Blake Wynn. You may recognize my name as my grandfather was the best governor the state of Nevada has ever had. Growing up in Las Vegas, I've come to know this community intricately. Now, I am raising a family here as well, so I understand all the issues impacting our home and quality of life. As the top realtor for the #1 real estate team at Keller Williams, you can have confidence in my experience, knowledge, and track record. When it comes to buying, selling, or investing in real estate, choose a name you can trust and someone who understands the community you call home. Call Blake Wynn today and experience the difference of a trusted expert. 702-540-3311.
Sapphire Pool and Day Club, the world's only topless gentlemen's day club, introduces its 2023 pool season lineup with a bevy of beauties and social media celebrities throughout the summer who will all host alongside hundreds of Sapphire's topless poolside entertainers. Enjoy brunch in the sun with items like frittata-style omelets, stripping chicken, and French kiss toast before washing it down with signature summertime cocktails. 10 lines, beware. Go Bear! Ladies are welcome to go topless within the day club for the ultimate party. Guests can purchase affordable day bed packages, cabana packages, lounge chairs, and more. The best part though, Pushing the Limits will be broadcasting shows every other Friday throughout the pool season with a ton of surprise celebrity guests. Wow! Reserve your spot now. For more info, visit sapphirepoolLV.com or call 702-869-0003. That's 702-869-0003. See you at Sapphire.
Hey everybody, it's Brian Shapiro from Pushing the Limits. I want to tell you guys about Sahara West Urgent Care and Wellness. They're conveniently located on the southwest corner of Sahara and Jones. They're open Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. and Saturday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. At Sahara West Urgent Care, they'll take care of all your healthcare needs. They offer routine services such as physicals, STD testing, car accident treatment, and work injuries. You name it, they do it. They have on-site x-ray, EKG, ultrasound, and labs. They treat chronic conditions such as asthma, blood pressure, diabetes, and more. They also offer general wellness exams, treatments such as testosterone enhancement and cancer screening. They're located on Sahara, 6125 West Sahara Avenue. Their number is 702-248-0554. And the best part, they accept most major insurances and affordable cash pay prices, office visits starting at just $95. And I'm also a client, so please give them a call, 702-248-0554.
Hungry for the best barbecue in Las Vegas? Come out to the infamous barbecue and meat market, John Mole's Meats and Roadkill Grill in Las Vegas. John Mole's was featured on the Food Network's Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives. Now take home delicious meat selections for your grill, and while you're there, grab a bite of the best barbecue in Las Vegas. With 2 locations now at Tom and Gowan or on North Decatur, you're sure to find the perfect meats for your next barbecue or party. Find us online at johnmolemeats.com.
All right, welcome back. It is Pushing the Limits on a Thursday. A quick reminder, programming note for you. Tomorrow we are going to be broadcasting live from Sapphire Gentlemen's Club Topless Pool. Topless being optional. I don't know if I'm going to be taking my shirt off.
I saw you topless in Laughlin.
Not pretty. No, it's not a pretty sight, Mo. Not a pretty sight at all. But we will be having some fun at Sapphire. We're broadcasting the show live out there at the pool. And we have some very special guests. World's most famous Donald Trump impersonator. He's paid by the Howard Stern Show to do his amazing impersonations. John DiDomenico will be joining us.
He's funny, too.
Oh, he is great.
Really funny.
That guy is so great, so funny. We got a ton of other special guests that are going to be joining us, including Anthony Curtis, blackjack card counter, Marcus Banks, former NBA player and UNLV standout. To name a few, Guy David's going to be out there with me. Chris Wynn's going to be out there with me.
Chris Wynn?
Yes, he will be out there. Yes, so we're going to have a lot of fun. Sailboats, yeah. Mr. Video Poker himself, Mr. Chris Wynn.
So will this guy. Ashba's new music.
Oh, DJ Ashba. Yeah, of course. DJ Ashba, formerly of Guns N' Roses, will be out there tomorrow as well. So we got a lot of celebrity guests. Please check us out. We're broadcasting the show live out there noon to 2. Great food, great place to grab some lunch. Man, I had the steak and eggs there a few weeks ago. It was actually really, really good. The drinks will be flowing, ladies and gentlemen, so come out and join us. We'll have a great time. Joined in studio here, of course, 12-year NBA veteran, 20-year coach, Paul MOkeski, joining us in studio. We're talking a little NBA Finals. We're having a little bit of fun. I want to tell you this story before we get to I want to get your thoughts on this. It's not really funny. Before we get to the Celtics-Miami series, a man in Louisville, Kentucky is facing an assault charge after shooting his roommate in the ass during a fight about eating their last Hot Pocket. I'm not making this up. His name is Clifton Williams. Apparently he got angry over the weekend and began throwing tiles at his roommate after the roommate ate the last Hot Pocket. Because, you know, your roommate eats the last Hot Pocket.
That's standard, yeah.
It's standard, right?
Last straw.
The roommate said he tried to fight back before telling Williams he was leaving. As the roommate was leaving, Mr. Williams went inside the residence and got a gun, shot his roommate in the ass while he was trying to leave. The roommate went a few blocks away to get help. Imagine that. He's being held $7,500 bond. Imagine that. You know, you're hungry. My roommate ate my last Hot Pocket, so I'm going to take out a gun and shoot him in the ass.
That's, I mean, sounds logical to me.
Yeah,
I mean,
sounds like something
and
that
I'm going to probably go to jail, but, you know, that Hot Pocket, I bet they have some good Hot Pockets in jail.
They probably do, right? I would think that would be a normal meal in jail, right?
But I could see Big Louie taking this guy's last Hot Pocket, see what he does with that guy.
Well, the important thing that I want to know is what kind of Hot Pocket was it? Was it a scrambled egg Hot Pocket? Was it ham and cheese? To me, that speaks volumes. If it was just a breakfast Hot Pocket, you got to let it go. But if it's ham and cheese, I understand.
And Brian, seriously, I mean, that's what our society is becoming. I mean, you see, kids on the strip here or whatever, and they're settling arguments with guns, and instead of, I'm nothing about fighting, but, back in the day, you're going to settle them with fists or something, or, but now they just, they think it's a game or something, and they shoot people over nothing.
Literally.
Hot Pockets is just parking spot. You drove too close to me on the freeway. All these things are just as stupid.
You're right, and the gun culture in America, don't even get me started there, but it's, while this guy's going to be okay, and a part of it's funny, it's also very sad that there are people that are that mentally ill. It doesn't matter where you shoot somebody. If you shoot somebody, you can kill somebody.
Absolutely.
They can bleed to death. It doesn't matter where you shoot that person. So, yeah, this is...
And I don't want to put it down, but like here in Las Vegas, a 15-year-old and a 17-year-old drove by a 10-year-old and an 8-year-old playing on the street and shot them. Thankfully, the two kids they're going to be okay, but they shot them for whatever reason, I don't know. And now both those kids are in court. The 17-year-old is going to be treated like an adult, but this is ridiculous. What I don't understand.
People that are I remember when I was a reporter for CBS here in town, one of my first radio jobs here. This is probably 16 or 17 years ago, and I had to cover a story of a local high school freshman kid who was just walking down the street with his friends, 14 years old, and a couple of seniors drive-by shooting killed him. And they said they meant to shoot the ground, and they were shooting the ground, but I guess one of the bullets got him in the head and died. 14-year-old kid. Just a horrible story, and I had to cover that and interview his family, and it was just gut-wrenching.
And talk about stupidity.
Yeah.
Guess what? If you shoot an asphalt, it's things called a ricochet.
Right.
And it could kill you
very
too.
Dangerous,
Yeah.
and people are not responsible with their guns, and this is just a mentally ill human being, obviously, that was angry that he didn't get his last Hot Pocket. So, if somebody's going to shoot you for that, they'll shoot you for anything. And it's very, very scary. But glad this person's going to be okay, and the person that shot him is behind bars right now. Anyway, next time I buy a Hot Pocket, I'll remember this story, and I'll remember not to eat the last one. But anyway.
Yeah, save it for somebody.
Yeah, speaking of the last one, we got Game 5 tonight. NBA Eastern Conference Finals. It's back in Boston, Miami Heat versus the Boston Celtics. And I got to be honest with you, I thought the Celtics would lay down in Game 4, and I thought it was over. But now they're heading back to Boston, and Miami's forced to head back to Boston. The series is not over yet. You've got to win 4 games. Are the odds on Miami's side that they're going to win this series? Absolutely. But there's a lot of people out there. Even Anthony Curtis, professional gambler that I spoke with yesterday, he's going to be joining us at Sapphire tomorrow. He said he put a small wager on the Celtics to win the series when they were down 2-0. And then I said, do you still feel like they can win it down 3-1? He said, absolutely. And I got to tell you, if they win tonight, and I don't know if the Celtics will, but let's just say hypothetically speaking they do, all the pressure in the world is on Miami to win Game 6. You don't want to go back home to Boston for a Game 7. So if the Celtics win tonight, it makes this series very interesting. Let's put it that way.
Well, for sure. The one thing that throws a wrench in that is the Boston Garden now is not the Boston Garden like it used to be. And actually, the Celtics are an average team at home. They're like 500 at home. So that kind of throws a wrench in that.
Jaylen Brown made comments, what you were just talking about. He said that he was disappointed with even the fans, and they weren't loud enough. Jaylen Brown has made comments like that in postseason, but you would know better than anybody. You played against Larry Bird. You played in the 80s in the old Boston Garden. You know what it was like to play there.
Yeah, so if I'm looking at the old Boston Garden and that, now I have. But, because if the old Celtics were in and had the Boston Garden were in this situation, they would win tonight, and then they could probably win in Miami, and then they would win Game 7. It's not true with these Celtics, though. Now, momentum in a 7-game series shifts really fast and really hard. So, years ago when I was coaching with the Dallas Mavericks, we were in the NBA Finals against the Miami Heat, Shaq and Dwayne Wade, and we owned them in games 1 and 2, won by 10 and 12, and we went to Miami, and that was back when it was 2-3-2, so we had to play 3 games in Miami. But either way, Game 3 we should have won, we didn't. Game 4 we got blown out. Everything has shifted. Game 5 we lost and missed some free throws, and then went home and lost Game 6, so they won 4 in a row against us. So can Boston do it? Yeah. Are they better with their backs against the wall? Yeah. Do they have probably the deepest team and with the most talent in the league? Yeah. Do they have an inexperienced coach? Yes. So it's going to be interesting because they did lay down in Game 3, and that disappointed. And then in my opinion, for an inexperienced coach to take all the blame on himself was a mistake. Maybe it wasn't. I think it was. Yeah, I didn't have him prepared to play. Really? Come on, man. You're in the East Coast Finals, and you should prepare the team with strategy and plays and all that. But not get them ready to play and play with all their heart. That's on the players. But I heard they had a little golf outing and relaxed, and then they did a good job in one last game. Is the pressure on Miami right now? No. It's still on Boston, but if Boston can pull out this game, I think it does shift back to Miami. And,
a lot of pressure on Miami if they lose tonight. And for Boston fans, you'd think they would be pretty loud tonight. This could be the last game of the season for them. You think they'd be, and if you're Boston, you don't want your last game of the season to be on your home floor either.
Right, yeah.
We know how good of a player Tatum is. Brown's been very inconsistent throughout the playoffs, really throughout the year. Some games he plays like an all-star, other games he plays like a guy that's 11th or 12th man on the bench. So we don't know what kind of Jaylen Brown we're going to see. We also don't know if Jaylen Brown's going to be coming back. I think this coach is done. I've talked to some people, and I understand he's on a contract. I understand they're going to have to pay him a lot of money. I don't think this guy comes back.
Not a lot NBA-wise, by the way. He's not making like Doc Rivers money, $8 million. He's not making that. He's making 2, 3 maybe. NBA level, that's nothing. That doesn't.
You think they let him go?
Possibly. I think he made a bad decision, but kind of understand it where he's going really a lot with Horford, who played really great against Embiid and great defensively. But in this series, you got to rethink it. And they have Williams, the third, who's on the bench, is really impactful and athletic, should be playing more. And I think he will play more. But he made that mistake in sticking with Horford too early too long in games 1 and 2, and that's going to bite him in the butt. And let's face it, he was thrown into almost impossible situation.
Yeah.
Now his roster is good, right? And he's got a good relationship with those players, but they had to let go of a coach that those players loved and went to the NBA Finals the year before. They loved that guy.
Yeah.
Guy made a mistake, so they let him go or suspended him. So he had to step in that coach's role 2 days before the season, and ended up having a season that was one of the best. I think they finished second in the East to the Bucks, but right up there, and did okay and beat Philly in the playoffs, right? But as what I tell you all the time. Fairness is not part of coaching business. You're hired to be fired. So if they fall on their face tonight, I think he's gone. If they win the game, I think he has a shot at staying. But let's think of who's out there, though, right?
Right.
You have coaches of the year and NBA championships, Nick Nurse, Doc Rivers, a guy from Phoenix. You got
Monty Williams. Yeah,
Monty Williams.
I've heard Monty Williams would be the candidate.
You got coaches out there with experience, pedigree, and they're all out there right now at the same time, and that's unusual. And there's I think 3 or 4 coaching jobs open, and those teams are clamoring for those kind of.
Is Doc Rivers allowed to be coaching somewhere next year?
Absolutely.
Even though they have a huge payout that
it doesn't matter.
Wow,
once you're fired, you're free to go. The team owes you. So Doc Rivers is going to be paid $16 million for the next 2 years. He makes $8 million a year. So let's say he goes to Boston, right? That would be kind of crazy. He goes to Phoenix, wherever, and they're going to say, okay, we're going to pay you $3 million a year, right? So that $3 million comes off of Boston's $8 million. So Boston owes him $5 million. And Phoenix will owe him $3 million, and he'll make $8 million total. That's how that works.
That's interesting. Yeah, I've heard Monty Williams' name. I kind of agree with you. I think if the Celtics win tonight, they might keep this guy for another year. But I feel like if they lose 4-1, especially if they lose on their home floor, I think he's gone.
And if he wins, and if they keep him, watch for the assistant coaches movement, because I believe they will change the assistant coaches and bring in a veteran guy to help him, Maurice Cheeks type guy. And some of those assistant coaches, I was one time, will be let go.
What? I'm curious because, correct me if I'm wrong, but it was Chuck Daly that was your coach, right? When you were in Detroit?
No. Scotty Robertson.
Okay. But you knew Chuck Daly, right?
Yeah, Chuck Daly coached me for about a month in Cleveland.
About a month. But like you've had some pretty legendary coaches, Don Nelson being one of them. Del Harris, who was a Laker coach as well. So you've had some pretty great coaches over time. When you're in a high pressure playoff game, let's just say you're back.
Lenny Wilkins.
Lenny Wilkins, Hall of Famer. What a guy. What a great player he was too back in the day.
Yep.
When you have a coach like a Lenny Wilkins or a Don Nelson, and you're in a situation where your back is against the wall in the playoffs, and Popovich talks about this, like, I don't need to tell my players that, hey, guys, let's go. This game's important. But do these coaches feel the need to have a 5-minute conversation with the team to emphasize how important the game is, even though you guys know already? Is that like a cliche, or do they actually do that?
No, I mean, they don't. If they have to tell you how important the game is, then you're either stupid or you have no experience.
Right.
You're sitting in a locker room. Like, I'm sitting in a locker room in the Boston Garden, Game 7, and I hear the fans out there. I know this game is important.
Right? So do they do anything differently to relax you? Or?
Yeah, I mean, like I remember Don Nelson, who played for the Celtics and is a Hall of Famer coach and was the winningest coach for a long time. I remember, if I remember correctly, he came into the small locker room, bullcrap locker room in the old Boston Garden.
It was bad, right?
Oh, it was terrible. It was as big as this.
Did they not even have air conditioning in there? That's
no.
That's Red Auerbach, right?
Oh yeah, and he'd open the windows at halftime and try and get you sick. All that's true. And I remember him, sitting down and said, "Hey guys, we're right where we want to be. This is not going to be easy. They're loud out there. They got a great team. Let's enjoy it and play our best. And whatever happens, happens."
I love that.
Enjoy the experience. That's what he said.
I love that, and it's so true, right? Obviously, you want to win, but you also want to remember and enjoy it.
And if you're going to freak out about how important the game is, you can't perform.
You're not going to perform it. Right?
There's a balance between feeling the pressure and the adrenaline, and then being calm. And that's when you talk to the great players like Michael Jordan, Larry Bird, all those guys. When they say they're in the zone, that's what that means.
And when you were in Game 7 in the Boston Garden, you were playing for, was that
Milwaukee?
That was the Milwaukee Bucks at the time, and your coach was Don Nelson. So, can you explain to me going through that day? What is the team meal, right? Do you guys have a team meal together, or you didn't do that?
No, in the NBA, there's no team.
You don't do any of that stuff.
No, the only team meals are usually when you're traveling and you go into a town and you have a game that night. You come in the night and then you got a game the next night. Instead of going to the arena, you might have a team breakfast brunch and a video session scouting report.
Gotcha.
That's you eat as a team. Other than that, you're on your own.
So the game's at 7. You take the bus from the hotel like maybe around 4:35. Is that?
Yeah, so I would walk through that I would wake up at 9 or something like that. I'd get something quick for breakfast. We'd go to shoot around from 10 to 11.
Which is
Boston.
Light. It's a light shoot around, right? You're not running.
Shoot around is just shooting around,
right?
And going through the scouting report one time, walking through it, getting some free throws up. Get loose, talk to reporters. So you do that from, say, 10 to 11.
Right.
Then you take the bus back to the hotel.
Grab lunch.
And you get something for lunch, a little bit heavier. And then I would take, everybody had NBA naps, so I would take a nap probably from 12 to 3 maybe.
An NBA nap.
Yeah, I mean, those are beautiful.
So you eat more heavy for lunch than dinner because you don't want to eat too big for dinner before the game, right?
Yeah, no, you can't. So then I'd get up about 3
and
I order maybe some light pasta or something from room service.
Is that complimentary from the team, or do you have to pay for that on your own?
Then I take a shower, and then I take the early bus, which would be, if there's a 7 o'clock game, it's probably 4:45. So Boston traffic, you probably get there at 5:15 or 5:30.
I don't understand why you would take a shower, though. Don't you want to smell really bad so your defender...
No, I want to wake up.
Is that what it is? Okay.
Yeah. And, and then there's a later bus. That's the one that goes a half hour later. That's for the starters and the head coach and that.
Right.
And they go over a little later.
It's a long day. People don't realize. It's a long day.
Yeah, and it's all prepared for the performing in that 2-hour stretch. And then everything else is building up to that. What you eat, how you sleep, how you rest, But
when the game's over, do you guys pig out? Like, just say you win and you're celebrating and your guys are all in a good mood. Do you have some pizza and wings? Do you celebrate?
Well, everybody goes their own way.
Okay.
So,
Because I know Kobe was kind of the loner, right? He traveled by himself, and there were certain guys in the NBA after you retired that were loners. They did their own thing, but you guys are not required to take a team bus, or did you have to?
No, you have to take a team bus.
You can't, because Kobe did it alone. He took taxis and stuff.
Well, it depends on different situations, and a lot of times after the game, if you tell the coach, hey, I got family in town, or I'm going with somebody to dinner, you know, I'm not going to be on the bus. That's cool. But going to the game, usually you're on the team bus. For sure.
What was that team bus ride like after the game when you lose Game 7 in the Garden when you're playing for the Bucks?
Most at that it
Keep
was
to yourself.
No,
or?
everybody goes home with somebody else, or goes. You know, Linda was there, and I went with
Your
my
wife was
agent,
there.
and I went out to eat or something.
Yeah.
You know, but going to that game is complete silence. You know, guys have headphones on, or they're reading, or they're just staring out the window. And
After the
preparing.
game, do you say anything to your teammates after the game? All right, I'll see you back in Milwaukee. Have a good off season. Like, what do you say to them?
Well, there's a meeting afterwards. So when you get back home, there's exit interviews, and you get all your crap, you know, your tennis shoes and whatever's in your locker, and you put it in a trash bag.
See you next year.
And you say, well, I'll see you next year, or I won't. Who knows who's going to be here next year?
You go in the Boston locker room and tell Larry Bird, I hope you get killed by the Lakers.
No. You know, back then you don't exchange jerseys. You don't give big hugs.
Yeah, I don't like that stuff.
You just shake the guy's hand. Sometimes guys would go in the other locker room, poke their head in, and say, hey, congratulations, good luck. That's it.
Yeah, that's it. I so agree with you. These jerseys, exchanging jerseys, like AD giving hugs out. It's like, dude, what are you doing? You guys just got embarrassed.
It was like a funeral. It was like you hug someone in the family. I'm like, come on, they just beat you. I mean,
come on, dude.
There's respect, and then you know, there's like LeBron. When you saw LeBron, right?
He's just walking out, not shaking any
well,
hands or anything.
no, he hugged Joker. He hugged Jamal.
Yeah.
He shook a couple hands and he left. That's good.
I actually am okay with that.
Yeah.
It means that he was pissed off.
Yeah.
And rightfully so. Mo, I'm glad you're not pissed off at me. You're a much larger man than I am. By the way, how many people in Lofton say, hey, how tall are you? I just want to smack him in the face.
How many people ever?
Yeah. Oh, my God. It's so annoying. Anyway, Mo, thanks so much for joining us as always. We'll see you next week when we're hopefully talking NBA Finals.
And then getting ready for a big golf tournament.
Yes, a big golf outing out there in Pahrump next week. And I get to see Mo swing the golf club. I can't wait for that. Can't wait for that. Thanks for joining us, Mo.
I want to see you hit my driver. How long?
I will. I'll
my
crush
long
it.
driver. Yeah.
I'll crush it. I'm not 7 feet tall, but I'll crush it. All right. Thanks for joining us, everybody. We are going to be at Sapphire Gentlemen's Club at the pool tomorrow. I will be with or without a shirt on, but you all are welcome to join us. Look forward to seeing you all tomorrow. Have a great Thursday afternoon, everybody, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Peace out.